All right. All right. I'm glad this is Monday, guys. Hopefully you're as excited as I am. It's Monday again. We have another opportunity to crush it, right, for this week. So if you guys are just now jumping on, go ahead and let us know where you're signing in from, what city, what state, what country. I'm just going to make sure that we are, good to go on live here in just a second here. I want to make sure we are. I think we are online. I think we are looking good. I got a great guest today. We're gonna get our creative juices flowing today. We're gonna tap into the brain of Alex Sheridan of Impacts Marketing. He's gonna help us unleash the creative part of our brains today. So hopefully you guys are ready for that. I want you to chime in with your questions, with your feedback throughout our discussion. We'll make it interactive. I do watch the comments. I do read the comments during the show. So feel free and jump in with that. In fact, you might even be able to see your comments below as we scroll through. So I want to just go ahead and just welcome you to the show, Alex. I'm excited to have you on today.
Same here. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about unleashing that creative part of us and how to build that brand on social media, no matter what you're trying to do, whether if you're a recruiter trying to build your recruiter brand, if you're trying to build your job brand, if you're trying to build your own personal brand, you're trying to build your business, whatever that is. We've got Sarah Farhat from LA, Los Angeles, California. Awesome. Welcome, Sarah. Appreciate you being here. So what I'd like to do is just start off and kind of dive into it. And then I also want to get a little bit more of your background as we get into the discussion, because I think that does play a part in this. So if you can, hit me with your top one or two tips to really get started to kind of unleash our creative part of our brain to get that branding going.
Well, the biggest thing that you have to do is get out there and test and try different things. So like a lot of people will approach me and say, I don't know if I'm that creative. I don't think I'm that creative. And I always go back to, look, if you had handed me a camera 2 years ago and said, go make a creative video for LinkedIn, I wouldn't have known what that even is. I wouldn't have known how to do that. So I figured out sort of what I was good at, just like how you figure out what you're good at in life and your talents and your strengths. You've got to get out there and you got to sample. You got to test and try. So I think about going back to your personality and figure out, okay, do I think I'm a great interviewer? Am I a great storyteller? Could I mix in some, skits with my content? Could I use some humor? Do I have a musical talent? What is it about me that I think I'm pretty naturally good at, that I've got some strengths in? And can I test that type of stuff out in my content? Maybe you're a great drawer and you can draw some content and that kind of stuff. Like, there's so many opportunities. So I think the first step is just looking inwards and saying, what is the creativity that I naturally have? And then how can I start unleashing that a little bit at a time and testing it out in my content, seeing if I like it and if it resonates with my audience. And then I can always make changes. So the videos that I make today were nowhere near what they were when I first started creating video content. I just kept trying and kept making mistakes and, failing and learning and getting better.
I love that. The test and measure, trying it, just doing it. Kind of like what Nike says, just do it. Just get started, right?
Yeah. And I'll tell you the other thing too, is like people think creativity is the talent. And there certainly is a talent component to it, right? We're all born with certain natural creativity and talent, but creativity is a skill and a muscle that you have to build. So if you don't work on it, just like anything else, you're not gonna get better, right? We all have certain things that we're just maybe naturally good at or naturally not good at. But the question is, what are you gonna build with it? It's just like in sports. I mean, if Michael Jordan hadn't picked up the basketball and started shooting hoops and dunking and really putting all of his effort and time in there, he wouldn't have been the greatest basketball player of all time, even though he was a talented guy. He worked the muscle consistently. He had the discipline. He thought about it every day. And, I write every day, I create every day. And so it's part of my routine. And so regardless of the talent or the creativity that you think you have or don't have, you've got to get out there and you got to build a little bit of a routine around it, have some discipline around it, and you got to work the muscle.
Oh, I love that. Okay, that deserves this right here. I love it. I'm just going to check in with our audience here. They love it too. I appreciate it. Hey, Ronald says smart dude. Ronald thinks you're a smart dude. So thank you, Ronald. Appreciate you, my man. Ronald Earl Wilshire.
Thanks, Ronald.
Yeah, welcome to the show. No, that's a great point. And a lot of us out here who are watching this are like, what? I'm just not creative. I'm just not very creative at all. That's not my thing. And you kind of help to answer that. Give me a little more. So if I say, no, I'm not creative, Alex.
The first thing I say is like, how do you know? What makes you think that you're not creative, right? It's like, some people are like, I just, I've done video a couple times. It's really not my thing. I'm like, well, how many videos have you done? Well, I just, 2 or 3 times. Well, what would you be great at naturally that you've done 2 or 3 times? I mean, it's like, whether you're cold calling or writing copy or doing videos or playing a new sport, how do you expect to be good at anything for the first couple times? Yet suddenly, when it comes to creativity and content creation, we think that we have to naturally be amazing at. And so it's like, I realized that I wasn't a great writer. My grammar's not very good. My spelling's terrible. So I realized for a while that writing wasn't my strong suit. I got on camera and I was like, I think this is probably more of my thing. But if I go back and look at my very first, 10, 20 videos, I almost cringe watching them now. And then I part smile too, because of the progress that I've made and the work that I put into it. But I think, I just really would challenge people. Is it a limiting belief that you have about yourself, or is it an actual truth?
Share. Hopefully, yes, his internet is unstable here. Let's see what we can do. I don't know what we do on this, but we just hope for the best.
That's right.
Okay, we're back. For you. That's live, right? All right. So I want everyone to answer this, and I want you to answer this question. By the way, before I want to just also piggyback on what you just said, because some people say, oh, Rollis, you're a natural at this live thing. Well, this is 107. That's my 171st episode. So
Right.
So it takes a little practice, right? So you don't know until you do it enough times. Okay. So I have a question for you here. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. What moment changed the way you look at life? And I want those in the comments to answer as well. What moment changed the way you look at life, Alex?
That's such a powerful question too. Yeah. I honestly, I would say it's been the toughest moments in my life, whether it was going through a separation with my ex or whether it was tough times at work. Those personal struggles have forced me to look inwards and say, what do I want out of life? And I've hit a low point here. I've got an option, right? I can hit the low point and kind of just hit it and stay there. Or I can hit that low point and I can just, boom, I can bounce back up from it, right? And so I just decided that when I was going through some personal things and some professional struggles, that I was going to use that opportunity to go for my dream, what I always wanted to do, which was speak to the world and start a business and impact people on a deeper level and, create unleash my creativity. I wanted to use the gifts that I thought I could offer to the world. And so for me, it's been the really challenging times where I said, look, I'm hitting the bottom. And I'm gonna bounce back up and use this freaking thing to launch me to the next level. And I think if you look at it like that, those tough times are a blessing in disguise sometimes.
Well, that was and that gives me the perhaps the inspiration behind the name of your company, because it's called Impacts.
Impacts.
You wanted to make an impact. So does that play into it?
Exactly, man. The word impacts was taken, so I had to get creative with how I spelt it, but that was it. And then basically everything with the brand kind of ties together. So it's impacts marketing. I wanted to make an impact in people's lives and businesses and really change things and transform things. That was at the core, and it still is at the core of everything I do, which is why I don't do certain type of offerings. I only do stuff if I feel like I'm going to transform people and companies. And so it was impacts marketing. And then how I was going to help people, how I was going to make my impact was I was going to help them and empower them to unleash their creative, and in all sorts of different ways, in content and social selling and how they thought about handling their customers. That was going to be that kind of the how of how I did it.
It seems like, that intentionality you're talking about, it seems like that played its way into the unleash versus just saying how to become creative. You're saying unleash your creativity they already have. Is that right?
Exactly. So that's the key, right? So you already have so much potential and creativity and amazingness inside all of us. But if you look at the reality of it, I mean, if somebody's 90 or 100 years old, hopefully we live that longer, how many people really used that potential to the fullest? How many people were amazing artists and amazing creators and amazing storytellers?
Right.
And they, and no knock, but they worked, 50 years at the company, never tapped into it. and just
Yeah.
kind of, and never really got to experience what that life could have been like. So once I went through the transformation, I realized that there were so many other entrepreneurs and founders and employees and leaders that were just sitting on this creativity, they're sitting on this amazingness. And I was like, I got to wake these people up and get them to unleash their creative. And that way they're the hero of their own story, because all they did was I just helped them figure out, hey, just let it go, let it out. Let's explore this. Let's work through this. And certainly, I help people win clients on LinkedIn and build a brand. So there's the strategic component to it for sure. But a lot of it was getting out of your own way and getting out there and being you.
Yeah. In fact, I'm helping recruiters to kind of build a brand too through coaching. And one of the things that I was doing today with I'm really excited about this new person we're bringing on to help. And just as she's talking, I was like, that's content right there, what you just said. And then she'll be talking some more about some other story. I was like, that's some more good content right there. Sometimes we don't, she's like, oh, she never thought of it. She's just talking. But the stuff she's talking is gold. I mean, that people would want to see and hear. And sometimes we don't realize, like you said earlier, it's unleashing the creative. Sometimes we don't realize how much creativity and how much content we actually have. It's all right here, already there, ready to just be unleashed.
Yeah. Content's literally everywhere we look, and every single day we create content. It's just whether or not we get it out there, Yeah. So, I mean, and people are like, I don't want to get on video, and I don't know what I'd say, and I'm not comfortable on video. And I'm like, well, how about this? What if you got on a Zoom call with a colleague or somebody that you know or trust, and you just started talking about some industry things that matter, and you hit the record button and you just had a conversation, right? You're not trying to create content, just have a conversation, but be intentional with the time. And then what you'll find is they'll get 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 pieces of content out of that conversation. It's more natural flowing because they're not getting on camera. Because if you're getting on camera for the first time and you're trying to write a script and do all this fancy stuff, it can be a little bit intimidating. But if you're just having a conversation in front of a camera that happens to be recording you, now you're creating content through just talking.
I love it. Then you can always edit it as needed later.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I have another question for you. You ready?
Yeah.
If you could float in a hot air balloon over any city or place in the world, what would you choose to float over? And I want folks in the comments, tell me what your answer is. Whether you're watching this live or on the replay, I will read your answer. Tell me what you think. What would you do?
It would definitely be, like Italy came to mind. Or even like somewhere where there's, for me, the scenery would have to be cool. I'm picturing like vineyards and mountains and like that type of scenery. I think would be really cool for me. I'd love to be able to stop down, bring that air balloon down a little bit and surface down to the ground level and stop in some places. But I would pick somewhere with. I'm a big mountains and scenery kind of person. I'm not a beach ocean person. So it would definitely be where the mountains are.
So were you raised around that? Did you raise around the mountains or?
No, I've been in Illinois my whole life in the plain. I mean, it's flat, completely flat here. So that's why I appreciate the mountains. But I've never been a big beach per the ocean. The ocean doesn't do it for me. There's nothing about it that I like. Yeah.
So I'm in Houston and it's pretty flat here too. I can appreciate the mountains, but I can also appreciate the beaches. What I like about when we went because we have a great client out in Colorado, and I've been to visit out there quite a few times. And what I love about it is like you could be living right next to a mountain or perhaps on the side of a mountain, and then there's a nice body of water at the bottom, like a little lake or something like that.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So you still get the water, plus you get the mountains.
Yeah.
And the air is so fresh and clean. Oh, I love that.
That's cool.
Ronald Earl Worldsher, he says the entire state of Alaska smiles. So he's gonna float over the entire state of Alaska. That's right.
That's a cold one.
That's gold. Oh man, that is gold.
Yeah, it's gold.
Okay, so let me ask you this: what is the number one mistake that you've seen people make? And then I want to move into your creative process with your videos because I love what you do with your videos. What's the number one mistake you think people make
when it comes to content creation?
Yes.
One, they don't post at all. That's number one. But getting past that, let's say they are posting, is too many people are posting things that are self-serving. So it's a lot of like my company's, it's a company article, or it's something that here's my new product line or service line, or it's our CEO wrote a letter. Just like it's just stuff that people aren't going to engage with. It's not really adding value to people. Or they'll create a 5 to 7 minute video, or they're just kind of talking. And so the key is to come in with intention and thinking about your audience. Who do you want to serve, and how can you bring them value? Because that's going to attract your potential customers to you, and that's what you want, right? So being intentional with the content and making sure that it's serving that audience.
Yeah, that's right on, my man. I love that. So if people wonder, man, why is my stuff not going viral? Why does my stuff get thousands of views? What do you got in it?
There you go. Yeah, it's kind of a big part of it, right?
Yeah, it's content is king. And you know what? I learned that the hard way, because as a recruiter, and you know this, you were in the business. You want to get to the point as fast as possible. You want to let everybody in the world know about your job opportunities. And we feel like, hey, if we let enough people know about our job opportunities, they're just going to jump on it because it's amazing. Whatever I'm offering is amazing. That's basically what we all think as recruiters. But people don't really jump on that anymore. Like if you just putting up job postings and there's not really any content, people just don't vibe with that anymore. It's not impressive anymore. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. There's a way to post a job posting and still be creative, right? You could tell a story about, how you helped somebody get a job and it transformed their life or whatever it is.
Yes.
And let's say it's a quality engineer opening and you're saying, I once placed a quality engineer that got zero experience. No one would give him a chance or her a chance. And I took a risk. The girl showed up early. She gave me her all. She had no experience. She wasn't quite but we made it work. And we got her the job based on her character and based on her potential, not necessarily the skills. 3 years later, she's being promoted to one of the managers. Really excited and happy for her. And by the way, we're hiring for a quality engineer right now. So I think that's how you got to slide it in there, man. So, but there's some type of moral to the story, right? Where it was like, okay, we hired somebody based off their potential. Sometimes you got to look past the experience sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And say, hey, can we give a little bit on the experience to hire somebody that could be a rock star for the next decade? So there's some value in there that managers are going to think, wow, that's an interesting perspective. But then at the end, you're giving you're talking about your job opening.
I love that. That's some recruiting gold, man. Let me give you that for that.
You guys can steal that one.
Yeah, I love that. And also another thing when we talk with candidates, it's important to them is career progression. So a nice story about how someone went from X up to Y or A to B or whatever. Just kind of showing how they made that career progression and how the company advanced this person. They're just kind of
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Talking about your own journey through promotion and what the top 3 things that got you to that next level. And then if you've got an open posting saying, hey, I've got an opportunity now for an entry-level position. I'd love to give it to somebody that wants to take a similar journey. There's all sorts of ways to put it in there and you're still promoting, you're still selling in a way, but you're doing it in a way that's bringing value and that's not pitchy and it's not all about you. And that's really how it's done in 2021.
I love it. This is good stuff. Okay. And also, Sarah, thank you for your comment. She says, OC, hills everywhere. So.
Orange County. Yeah.
Orange County. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. I have another question for you here.
Yeah.
All right. So would you rather have a painful pimple on the side of your nose for a week or a bad cold sore for the same length of time?
I guess, is the cold sore inside the mouth or outside though?
You can frame it however you want. I've got one in the comments. I want you to answer the same question, okay? And you have to tell it. And if you don't mind, tell us why. Why you prefer one of those.
I think because I think about like the pimples probably like worse from an appearance standpoint. But if the cold sore it's like a canker sore, it's kind of, I guess cold sore maybe is on the outside, but the canker sore is like on the inside. It might be a little bit more painful to eat and stuff like that, but it might be less noticeable. So, for me, it's like I'm on camera so much. So it's like, I don't want anything like ultra standing out,
But the first one is you have a painful pimple on the inside of your nose for a week.
Oh, inside. Okay.
Yeah, it's inside. So they can't see it.
It's painful though.
Yeah. Or a bad cold sore.
And the cold sore is probably assuming that you can see it.
It doesn't say. It doesn't say for sure. So however you want to frame it.
I may go pimple then. I may go pimple.
I think, it says painful pimple.
Like if we're talking like painful in the sense of like, I can't get through a conversation without it just really bringing me down, then I'm going cold sore.
Yeah.
Because if it's distracting you from a conversation, then that's pretty painful.
Yeah. That's a good one. But you know what? Sarah has a great point here. Oh, Sarah, I was going to say, I was going to go with the cold sore, but Sarah she just talked me into the pimple. She says, pimple, I love my food. I love my food too, Sarah.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing.
So-
Cold sore makes it hard to eat.
Oh.
You got to chew out one side of your mouth or something, right?
Yeah. I think I'm gonna take the pimple. That's a good. That was a good save, Sarah. She pulled me over. She's
Converted you.
yeah. She converted me on that one.
Team
Okay.
Pimple.
I want to break down. You make some. I don't know, guys. If you haven't watched Alex's video, you should follow him because he's got some really cool videos. I started watching the automation one today, and I didn't get a chance to finish it. But you always add a nice comedic flair to your videos. Just describe for me, what is your creative process like? Like, give me start to finish what the process looks like, because it seems like you follow a similar process on all of your videos that I've seen.
Yeah, so a couple things. One, I mean, valuetainment is on the rise, right? The ability to create content that's both educational, or you call it edutainment, whatever you want to call it, is definitely on the rise, and there's a big time demand for it. You see it in organic content, you see it in ads now more than ever, and that's basically just teaching somebody or moving them or providing a story that's of substance. There's a good message, a learning lesson, but you're doing it in an entertainment fashion. And that's why I do those things. But here's the other thing. I only do one of those videos per week with the green screen, the high production, that kind of stuff. It sometimes looks like I do more because I start every Monday out with it. But really, those are I only do 4 a month. But they're kind of the brand builders, and they kind of drag for a couple days. And so it appears that I'm always got these but really it's once a week, right? Okay. And so I'll do some other creative things with other videos, but they're not the green screen, high production, that kind of stuff. So anyways, my process for creating those content or those pieces of the videos, the uber creative ones, is it starts with, as I mentioned earlier, I start each day by writing. So when I'm having my cup of coffee, I spend at least 30 minutes. And I use my notes app. I got my iPhone. I pull up my notes app, and I've got a ton. Yeah, I've got, Monday through Friday content, Monday through Friday. I've got like 4 or 5 weeks, 6, 7, sometimes 8 weeks in a row worth of ideas and content that I'm building out for, and I'm building out the scripts and that kind of stuff. Underneath that, I've got all these ideas, right? So we may be on the show together live. Somebody asked a question, or you asked a question. I'm like, man, that would be a great piece of content. I'll write that down. I'm having a conversation with a customer or a prospect. They ask a question. Alex, how do you do this? I can't ever figure this out. Oh, that's a question I've got asked 3 times this week. Let me make a video about that. And so I'll start piecing together those kind of ideas. And then for me personally, Wednesdays are my days when I really don't take any meetings for the most part. My calendar's blocked off. And it's just a marketing production day for me, or I'll focus on client work, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I also film my video that day. So I film my video for 2 weeks out. So I'm always way ahead of it. So I'm not having to come up with ideas last minute and stretch myself creatively. I can take my time, and every day I write, I get my ideas down, I get my scripts out. And then every Wednesday I shoot those videos. And then that's when I pull up the green screen, my lighting, and I'll shoot the video. I'll have my script written out, ready to go.
Okay.
And I'll do it. It's a 2-minute to 3-minute video, and nothing usually more than 3 minutes, usually under 3 minutes. And then I chop it up to where I want it, the scenes that I want, because I'll do multiple takes sometimes for these type of videos, only because they're the edutainment kind. Normally I would not do that.
Right.
But then I send it to my editing team, and then they take care of everything from there, and they kick it back to me. I review. If there's any changes we make, I send it back, and then they send it back to me, and then boom, it's ready to post.
That's awesome. I love it. So, and a lot of people don't realize this, but you're talking about your editing team. Some people feel like, okay, I have to hire a full-time editor, and I got to pay all this money to do an editor. Tell me your process. Is it somebody you had to hire that works for you? Do you have a team? How does that part work?
Yeah, so it's all outsourced, right? So it's not like they're not an Impact's marketing employee. They're not an employee of my company. They work with me. They're more partners with me, right? And so, yeah, it's a cost-effective approach to hiring folks that do really good work. But where they live and where they're located, the cost of living is not nearly as high as it is here, right? So the pay is a little bit different. So it just kind of works out for everyone involved. And I also I treat them like employees. I mean, I really treat them like they're family, right? And I think that's one thing that people, when they first start getting into video editing and they want to outsource somebody, they think, all right, can you just send me somebody, or how do I get somebody hired on real quick to do videos? And I'm like, slow down a bit, take care of this person and treat them like they're part of your team. and coach them, develop them. You grow together. So I think about the person that I use now for a lot of my creative videos. Me and him really grew together over the last 6 to 8 months. And we both leveled up our skills from each other, because I would have ideas and then he would have ideas. And then, he's getting better at editing and I'm getting better at writing the scripts. And it's just kind of cool to grow together. And when you take care of your people, they want to do good work for you. So.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, the audience likes it too. So they agree with you. Yeah, I agree 100%. We have a global team. We have folks in the Philippines, Egypt, India.
Yep. It's almost required nowadays, for most modern businesses, entrepreneurship. I mean, if you want to scale, you can't do everything yourself, right? Yeah. And so you got to make a decision. And a lot of times when they're doing things that they're doing one set job or maybe a couple specific jobs, it just makes sense to outsource from a flexibility standpoint. So, yeah.
I've now I do have a video project manager, and he's the one who helps with some of my live production. In fact, he's the one helping me today, and he lives like 3 blocks from me.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool.
But the rest of the team, they're all like overseas that does the video stuff. So I'm with you on that, my man. Ronald Wilshire, he says, just signed up on your list, Mr. S. Let's see what you got. He says, smile.
Nice. I think he's talking about my video newsletter.
Yeah, Ronald's probably so. Ronald's a cool guy. So y'all connect with each other. Y'all enjoy each other. Ronald's a hoot, man. He's on one of my shows earlier. I guess it was last year. He was on my show. But yeah, he's pretty cool. You'll like him.
Cool.
Yeah, anybody who's watching, feel free to connect with each other, right? So we're all here for a similar purpose, helping each other grow our networks and grow our brand. So you're in a safe place here if you want to connect with somebody here. I have another question for you. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. If you were told that you could only watch one television show a week for the next 12 months, which show would you choose to watch?
It's not a hard one for me because I don't watch a ton of TV.
Okay.
Right? Like during the weekday, I don't watch hardly any TV, and then weekends I'll do a little bit here and there. But I'm not a huge TV person. But I would say, there's a lot of good ones. I mean, Jack Ryan has been a good one on Amazon. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a Tom Clancy based one. Narcos is a good one on Netflix. I like that one a lot.
Okay.
Those are probably my top.
So you like the action kind of thriller kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, with a good storyline, kind of intense. You never know what's going to have. There's some surprises. I like those kind of, keep you on your toes.
Now, as far as like movies and stuff, does that mean you're like maybe like into like a James Bond kind of thing, or?
Those are cool, but movies, I definitely like some depth to them.
Okay.
There's got to be I think if I had to pick one movie that I could watch over and over again the rest of my life, it would be The Greatest Showman, which is ironic.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's a musical, which normally I don't even know if I've ever seen really another musical.
Right.
I wouldn't know if it's normally my thing or not, but the movie there's such deep life lessons in there, and the characters and the character arc and how they develop and stuff is really cool. And I've gotten some ideas from there. I consume movies sometimes, and even some comedies and some stand-up stuff. I consume it to get ideas for content. For me, it's different schemes and different different acting and that kind of stuff because of how my creative videos are. Yeah. So when I'm watching those stuff, I find myself, I'll recite back lines just practicing acting. I take it that seriously. And so it's kind of fun. I'll see a good scene and I'll try to react that same scene and see how I do it. It's interesting.
Yeah. You're kind of inspiring me. You're giving me some ideas. Cause I when I watch videos, it does, or movies rather, it does give me some ideas. Sometimes I look at the production quality, how they did it too.
Yeah.
I look at interviews differently now. So because I do so many live shows with guests. If I'm watching like an Oprah or some kind of news interview, I get different little tips, as I'm watching it, from different styles, like for instance, from an interview standpoint, to me, the best interviewer ever is Oprah. She's like amazing. Even if you don't even like the content of her show, if you just sit there and watch how she interviews,
Yeah.
Her skills is like, Michael Jordan, basically.
And you know what's funny is you may not notice it unless you're interviewing people, right? So then you look
Right.
at it and you're like, man, the way she moves through the conversation and she stays on topic, but then pivots, and it's like, man, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's a skill, man. That's one of those things that, like, she may have had natural talents, but she worked on it so much.
Exactly.
And she's done it so many times at such a high level now that she makes it look really easy. Right.
Exactly.
But if you got up on there and started doing it, you'd fumble. You'd be like, it's just not, it always looks easier than it really is until you get in there and you realize, man, this is pretty tough.
Yeah. Annie Lieb, welcome. She's coming in and says, great conversation. Glad you stopped by, Annie. Glad you're sharing your time with us. Appreciate it. So you said Greatest Showman. I've never seen this movie. I know roughly kind of what the plot line is, but take me through how that can apply to unleashing your creative. What are some principles you've used from that movie into your business?
Man, that movie is just so inspiring for me. I mean, on so many levels. One, I like the fact that, so I've always felt like a little bit like growing up, not to get too deep into my storyline, but when I was a kid and in high school, I always was like outcast. I always felt very different and, I didn't quite fit in and stuff. And so I relate to that kind of crowd, and I wasn't like the football player with the jocks. And like, it just wasn't my crew, and so I don't relate to that demographic. And so this movie is very much about the misfits kind of coming together. The runaways are running the night, and so it's like, it's so inspiring. This guy who is P.T. Barnum, I think is his name, right? He's a famous, ends up doing famous circuitry and that kind of stuff. And he sees these unique characters, with what normal folks would say, oh, that's a freak, or that's somebody really weird. He looks at them and sees, you're special. You're unique. I like that. And so, very early on, even as a kid, he sees it, right? And so he's picking up this talent, and he really is helping these characters go from, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed that I am this way, to I need to showcase the world and inspire people that I am this way. And so it's like, it's literally the definition of unleashing your creative. It's going from I'm a little bit embarrassed, or a lot embarrassed by this, to I don't want to show people who I really am, to no, this is me, and I'm proud of it. And I don't care that I don't look like those other people. I don't want to look like those other people, I want to do me, and I want to inspire other people to do them. And the movie just is so in line with what I believe in life and business. And it's so warming and touching. And it's just about character, it's about having, it's freaking, we're all different. We all may have different things, but if you're a good person, you got good character, that's what it's about. So
I love that, because
so cool.
Some things that, like you said, we may feel like, I'm a misfit, or I'm weird, or whatever the case is, because you're a certain way. Yeah. But that actually could be a strength. What you perceive as a weakness is actually a strength.
It absolutely is. I think that's been my biggest strength on LinkedIn, was that I wasn't like I didn't relate to the, no offense, but I didn't relate to the suit and tie business professional money. It wasn't my, it just wasn't my thing. And I felt very like an outcast entrepreneur. Like I was I didn't have the bookshelf and the cool stuff in the back. And so I just felt like I was just starting a business that was just gonna, and I had some humor, and I wanted to bring some fun to the content. And I wasn't sure how people were going to take it, because back then there wasn't really anyone to look to that was doing what I was doing. Yeah. And so, I just went for it, but that's why that movie hit. And then the movie just has so much, like from an acting standpoint and from a musical standpoint, it's so well written. The songs are amazing, and they're very touching. Like, they're meaningful songs, and they're inspiring, and they move you. And so for that reason, the movie, you got to see the movie. It's such a great story.
Any other marketing tips or creative tips we can get from the show that you can think of, being as you know it so well? What's another thing you learned from it?
They just, it's storytelling. They just tell really, really good stories. So I think one thing, if you're creating content, is that sometimes you want to just say, hey, here's the point, here's the facts, here's the stats. Right. Well, that stuff doesn't move people. A story moves somebody, it gets somebody to take action, and you can incorporate some facts in that story if you want to. But the entire movie is one big story, but there's little mini stories even inside that, and so the guy, he grows up poor. I love the story. He grows up poor, and I won't tell the whole movie, but he grows up poor, and, he goes to this family, and his son's there, and his son meets this other little girl that he thinks is cute and stuff, and they end up kind of getting together later on. But they get like shunned out because they're this poor family, and his dad never had any money, and they were like, this is way back when, I don't even know what time period, like 1800s or something, back when like you'd hire somebody to come to your house, they'd tailor fit your clothes, and these rich people treated them like they were second class citizen, which was just freaking terrible. And but he goes on, he's motivated, and he goes on to marry that girl that came from the rich family, and he ends up building this kind of empire, and he ends up proving everyone wrong that doubted him. So I love that too.
I love those kind of feel good stories like that.
I do too.
Okay, so I have a question for you and those who are watching in the audience. In your opinion, what is the most beautiful man-made object in the world? Man-made.
That's a good question. I'm not sure I have an answer for that one. Most beautiful man-made object.
Oh, Mandy has one. Give it to us, Mandy. Mandy's got one. Put it in the comments. Those who are watching, put it in the comments. Even if you're watching live or replay, what's the most beautiful man-made object in the world? Go for it, Alex.
I mean, there's things like really cool, like skyscrapers and the St. Louis Arch, and there's some cool there's some cool things, I think, from an architecture standpoint that I would say would probably be up there, in the pyramids and Stonehenge, although some people say those are aliens. But I would probably go something architecture type, because I think those are pretty cool.
Now, you named quite a few. So which one stands out the most for you?
I think the pyramids are just are just insane. The way how they put that together, I don't even know how. Yeah.
Okay.
Insane.
The first thing I thought of was cars. I don't know why, but my mind immediately went to cars. So I'm thinking of like a red Ferrari or a a Tesla. Actually, I love Teslas. I love those.
Oh yeah, same here.
And that original Roadster, it's not practical for me, but that original Roadster was an amazing car. If I was to purchase one, I would purchase either the X or the S, because it's got the 4 doors, and it's a little more comfortable.
I'm going to be riding in one to Nashville. Me and my buddy are going down there, and he's got a Tesla, so we'll be cruising in the Tesla.
Oh, nice.
And then you got Lucid Motors that looks, they're more pricey than their stuff. Man,
that looks amazing. Mm-hmm. Joanne, if you can find one of those Lucid cars, put that in the comments if you don't mind, a link to that.
They're sharp, man.
Those are pretty cool looking. Mandy says, "Wow, that's a good question." Okay, Mandy, we're all in suspense. We want to know. Okay, I have another follow-up. I have a follow-up for you, Alex. This is what we call never have I ever. Okay, so you let us know if you have or you've never.
Okay,
and we're gonna guess. So, never have I ever been sent to the principal's office. So you don't have to tell me right off the bat, but I'm curious. So, guys, here you're watching. Do we think that Alex has ever been sent to the principal's office? Let us know in the comments if you think yes, he has, or no, he hasn't. And then I'm going to ask you to tell me what the answer is. Okay, so we're going to come back to that. All right, let's go back to marketing for a second. Do you believe totally in the whole organic route, or do you use some paid stuff? Do you mix them together? What's kind of your approach? What's your mantra, your modus operandi for terms of marketing?
Yeah, so pretty much almost exclusively, I've only done organic when it comes to LinkedIn, but I am starting to explore ads because I want to learn that as a skill. I want to understand how to use those. And there's going to be a time when LinkedIn's organic reach is not what it is today. And so I think there's so much for me from a marketing skill building standpoint. I want to learn the advertisement space because I feel like if I take my creative and add the advertisement sort of background and skill, that I can do some pretty cool stuff. And I want to be able to eventually help clients do that kind of work too. So I'm learning that. I'm in the process of learning that. But all of my success, 100% of my clients, have all been to this day as it sits today from organic content, outreach, social selling, that kind of stuff.
Got it. And just for anybody who's not familiar, what I'm just describing is if you just post something and it just, a lot of folks watch it, wherever people watch it, that's called organic reach. But most of these platforms, including LinkedIn, Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they all have ad platforms. And so if you have something you just want to push out, you can pay a little bit of money per impression, and you can push that out where people can see it and maybe interact with it.
And the difference between, LinkedIn, as LinkedIn versus Facebook, Instagram, some of these other platforms is that, a place like Facebook and Instagram, they're very saturated. There's been a lot of ads there for a long time, so it's harder to grow organically. But on a place like LinkedIn, I mean, I had 0 followers in 2019, late 2019. So it's like, I built a business off LinkedIn, in 2020. So it's like you've got an opportunity where you don't have to pay for advertisement. As it sits today, again, this will change over time, but as it sits today, there's never a better time to get in and start creating content, start building your brand, building the community, because you're going to grow at a pretty fast pace. Where if you try to do the exact same thing on Facebook or Instagram, good luck trying to grow organically on those platforms anymore. There's no more attention to give you, where LinkedIn still has a lot of attention to give.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a big believer in a hybrid approach, right? So we do we do organic and we do paid, especially for recruitment, because we want to make sure that those jobs get in front of the right folks. And our approach too, when we do the paid ads, is that we're very targeted. So we build audiences. And so, because we're not looking to get everybody, right? Usually we have specific requirements of what they have to fill. So that's what I love about it, is that you can push it just to those people. And I don't have to litter everybody else with stuff that they're not even going to be concerned with. They're not like, I don't want to
totally. Well, that's exactly right. I mean, when you're paying for ads, that's the benefit of LinkedIn specifically, is that you can get hyper targeted with job titles and years of experience. I mean, really, you can do some cool stuff with that. And then if you think about it, you can retarget people that have watched your previous ad videos. And so all types of really highly targeted type things that you can do. And that's what you want. If you're spending money on it, you want to make sure it's getting to only the people that you want it to see. Where organic, it's going to get to 20 to 30% of the people you want. And then who knows, the other 80 to 90, whatever it is percent.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So we are all in suspense, because actually Sarah, she says yes. And Mandy says yes. They believe you've actually gone to the principal's office, been sent to the principal's office. So don't leave us in suspense any longer. Never have I ever been sent to the principal's office. Have you, or have you never been sent to the principal's office?
Oh, I have many times. And many times. Yeah, many times. I got in a lot of trouble in high school. I actually went to 3 different high schools, because I just would get kicked out of one, go to the next one, then go to the next one, and then finally came back to my original school at the end, and graduated late. So I had a challenging start.
Okay. Yeah. If you want to share, if it's safe for work, you can share. You can share.
I don't know. We don't need to go there.
Wait, let's skip that. Okay.
But here's what I will say, though. This is why I'm so passionate about Unleash the Creative movement. Is that I was always that creative kid. I just didn't know what to do with it.
Yes.
The school system is like, they want you to fit this certain mold, and it's like, if you don't fit that, you're kind of like, they don't know what to do with you. And hopefully that changes over time, where we start to adapt to people's personalities and their creative and what they're good at. But, I was going through the system. I didn't really fit the system. I was writing, music and raps in my math class, and they wanted me to learn algebra. And I'm like, I just don't want to do that. I have no interest in it. But little did I know that I'd be using that same creativity, a couple decades later, in my content. So it's pretty cool.
I love it. Cool. I was similar that way. I think folks who are watching can probably relate that it's just, like you said, we have certain qualities that just aren't channeled in the right way. And so it ends up coming out in different ways. Mandy says she was laughing, and she says you were too cool for school.
Literally, yeah. It kind of was.
I remember one of the things I used to talk and clown around quite a bit in school, and especially in one class. Actually, this was a class I really liked. It was an English class. I didn't like the content of the class, because like in English, it was kind of boring for me.
Yeah.
But he was a really good teacher, and there was a person though that sat. I think she sat in front of me. But anyway, it was me and this girl. We would talk back and forth, and we would talk too much during class, and we would clown around, have a good time. And so he finally says, "You know what? I'm actually going to move you up by my desk." So he moved me from way in the back, all the way up by him, and to stop me from doing it. Of course, it worked, right? I was like, "Hey, Mr. Cassio, so when are you gonna move me back?" Since I've been doing better now. When are you gonna move me back? He says, "You know what? I'm going to move you the second Tuesday of next week." So
that's good. I like that.
I never got moved.
I like that.
So I still use that saying quite a bit.
I love that.
If it's not going to happen.
There is no second Tuesday of next week, right? Yeah, that's too funny.
So
by the way, that was like the standard operating procedure. Anytime that you were talking with somebody, they just move you to the front. They're like, you know what? You have no opportunity to even do it anymore. We're just going to move you right up front. You're sitting right there. What do you do? They're right in front of you. You can't do anything.
Right in front of him.
You got to pay attention. You got to take notes all of a sudden. I'm like, what is this? I'm not used to all this stuff. I'm writing my raps here. Come on.
That was a crazy times. Okay. Yeah. So this is flown by. We're already like most of the way in here. Okay. So I want to let's get a little more content here going with the marketing stuff, right? So give me an idea of when do you know when you're working on a particular piece? Because you say you do it 4 times a month. And by the way, do you do other content throughout the month?
Yeah. That's just my hyper creative ones. I do the interview style videos. Okay. I do selfie videos. I do text posts. Yeah. Okay. So I'm typically posting 4 to 5 times a week.
So why? Okay, this is good. So why do you do so many different types of posts? What's the reason? I want the folks who are watching to know what's the reason why you do so many different types of content throughout the week.
Yeah, a couple of reasons. One, I want to stay active, right? So if you post once a week, you could, but you're only getting in front of people once a week. And so it's 4 times a month. It's just not enough, right? You need a little bit more frequency, a little bit more consistent. Doesn't mean you need to post every day, but I like to get in front of my audience at least 4 to 5 times a week. But I do it in different styles because one, I want to test and I want to try. So just because I've figured some things out about what works and what doesn't mean there's something else waiting to be untapped or waiting that I could use my creativity on that might be the next big thing or might be what my audience really wants. So I'm trying out text posts, picture posts, interview style videos, selfie style videos, the green screen video. I'm trying out different things. And the other reason I'll say too is that people react differently to different types of content, right? So I may have a customer out there, even though I want to repel certain people and I want to attract certain people. So not everyone's going to like me and that's fine. That's for everyone, right? Yep. But there may be certain people that corporate executive may be really related to a text post or an interview style video, or maybe a founder or entrepreneur related to the creative video. And so, I try to hit people from different angles. It's all me. I think we've all got different sides to us, right? So I think that's, as a content creator, think about how you're bringing out your dynamic self. And if you're someone that has, we're all different ways depending on who we're around. We're one person around our family. We're a little bit different around our friends or on camera. And so it's not that we're being somebody we're not. It's just we unleash a different side of us depending on where we're at and who we're with. And so I want to show a little bit of different sides. I want to show some serious side to me sometimes because I think that's important. I want to show the funny, creative side because I think that's important. And so for me, it's really letting my full creativity out in the different ways that it can come out.
Okay, and one question I wanted to ask too is kind of how do you analyze, what's working versus what's not working? But before we do that, I have another question for you. And I want those who are watching, put this in the comments what your answer is. Okay. Would you rather be able to teleport one person at a time or have telekinetic powers with one object at a time? So those who are watching, I want you to answer the same question. Would you rather have the power to teleport one person at a time or have telekinetic powers? In other words, you're able to move objects, but one object at a time. Which power would you want to have and why?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I think about the thing that came to my mind when I thought about people is like getting somebody out of a terrible situation or, somebody's trapped in a flood. Like that would be great, right? They're in a hurricane on top of a roof and you're just pulling people out.
Yes.
I think that would be cool. But then I think about the objects and I'm like, I think could be some really cool stuff that you could do with that too. The people, you're really limited to just people. So if you're not teleporting somebody to a specific place, where an object, I think about if there's 3 people, let's say there's 5 people on a rooftop in a hurricane, you're trying to get them out. This is so weird. I'm thinking about this so detailed. Like there's 5 people on top. I just created a whole story in my head. This is why I do what I do, right? So you got 5 people on top of a rooftop. I could teleport individually out, or I could just put a landing pad and move that object, on the object, and then get all 5 people out. So I'm going object. Object.
I love it. That's a very good explanation. That's hilarious.
Object it is.
Joanne says telekinetic power, but for that answer, that was good. Yeah. You know what? I was thinking people, because I was thinking about, I guess because I'm in healthcare, I was thinking, if someone's really sick, like they need some attention quickly, I could literally just boom, and then put them right in the exact hospital they need, the best hospital for that particular ailment, whatever they have. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool to have that power. But
for sure.
I like what you're saying about the object. That's very, very interesting. Ronald Wilshire, he says, people, it's always about the people. Smile. And Cynthia says, I would agree, objects. So Cynthia's with you on the objects. So thank you for that, Cynthia.
It's a tough one.
That is a tough one. Okay. All right. So let's talk about how do you gauge your performance? Like how things are working, what's not working. What are the things you're looking at to see if it's working or not, if you're having an impact?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first thing for me and where I'm at in my business, I'm of course looking at revenue generated first, clients won. So I look at that as the number one metric. And then, to take it one step back from there, I'm looking at meetings booked. How many people are reaching out, inbound leads? I'm looking at how many meetings did I set up as a result of the content or the outreach for that week. And then beyond that, I'm looking at more of the vanity metrics, right? Which, they're not vanity metrics, but they're just the metrics that we have at our disposal, right? So whether you're using Shield Analytics and going a little bit deep, or whether you're just looking at LinkedIn and figuring out, okay, how many people viewed this piece of content? How many people reacted to it, comments, that kind of stuff. And then I do, you want to make sure your profile views are trending in the right direction. You're going to have some weeks that are up, some weeks that are a little bit lighter, and that's perfectly normal. But I think overall, you want it to be kind of like the stock market, right? Days go like that, but it's trending in the right direction. So those would be the kind of the four categories.
Yes, I love that. Speaking of profile views, I made some tweaks to my profile views earlier this year, and it was a classic fail. I changed up my picture. And I changed up my headline, and my views just started. And I was thinking, what's going on? Because I'm doing a lot of the same stuff. But what I finally figured out is, number one, my picture wasn't that great. I went to Photo Feelers, I think it's photofeelers.com or whatever. And I put it up, and they're like, yeah, they didn't like it. I just got bad reviews on that thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I put up, I kind of changed it up. For whatever reason, the network that I have, they like me to be more professionally dressed.
Yeah, right.
So I went casual, and my views went down. I went back to my dressy again, and they went back up. And then I also changed up my my headline about what I was saying, and that helped it go back up too. Of course, I'm doing other things as well, but it had almost an immediate effect. So I guess I'm backing up your point that your profile views is something that you want to look at, because at the end of the day, that's you want them to do that. That's where you want them to go.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, if some people are looking at your profile or not looking at your profile, there's something to that. And for you, it's like if you're putting out the same amount of content and it's relatively the same, then you're like, okay, the content hasn't changed so much, but what has? Well, the picture, the headline, the banner, and those are the type of things that that's the first impression that people really see. When you commented on somebody's post or you created something, they see your picture and they see those first few words of the headline. So even those small things are a big difference in terms of, are they going to go check you out? Did you intrigue them enough? Did they feel like you're, somebody that they may want to work with or partner with? And so all that stuff is important and goes hand in hand for sure.
That's it. And that's it. That's a small, but it's a golden tip.
Yeah.
That, when you comment on something, all they see is your profile picture and the first few lines of your headline. They don't see anything else. So sometimes they're making decisions on whether they're going to click on your profile picture or not, just based off of that. So it does make a difference. It can make a huge difference on profile views. Cynthia Covington says, I think it's great that you both want to help with your powers. And she does the emoji symbol with the arm.
I love it.
I love it. Yeah. Thank you, Cynthia.
Yeah.
I guess we're wired that way, right? We just kind of think about how's this going to help other people. Yeah, I think that's what it's all about, man. Because the more we can help others, because I like the quote that a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
So even let's say you and I, right? So you're in digital marketing, I'm in digital marketing too, to a point, but it's more recruitment. We can look at each other as competitors, or we can say, hey, you know what? How do we collaborate? Let me get him on the show. Let's talk.
Right.
There's some things we can learn from each other, and we both walk away from this thing better. And
absolutely,
there's gonna be certain people who are gonna vibe with you more, or they're gonna vibe with me more, whatever the case is. And there's enough business for everybody. That's how I look at it.
The same here. It's the abundance mentality versus the scarcity mentality, and so I really believe that. I do believe in karma too, not in the feel good kind of fantasy type of way, but just in the fact that the more good you do, the more likely things are going to come back to you. It's just the nature of how the world works and how human, life is you put out good and then good comes back to you.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I call it kind of reap what you sow. Like if I know that if I plant a grape seed in the ground, I'm going to get grapes. I'm not going to get turnips.
Right.
So I think that if you do put good things out there, that good things will come back, which is a similar concept to what you're talking about. I agree 100%. Even, one thing too, I think we make a mistake. You tell me if you agree on this, Alex, is that sometimes we'll put something out and we'll expect that good thing to come back from that particular place that we sent it versus being okay with it coming from somewhere totally different. I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, 100%, man. That's when you give, you have to kind of give with not the direct expectation of something happening right that second. It's more about the body of work, so go out there and do a bunch of good. And at some point, you're probably not even going to expect where it comes from, but things just start to come back, and it seems like it plays out every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. Cynthia said,
tell me you've seen It's a Wonderful Life.
Wonderful Life.
No, it's a Christmas kind of movie. Yeah.
Oh no, I have not seen that. That's the Jimmy Stewart, right?
It's a really old movie, but it's one of my favorites because it basically, long story short, the guy just gives so much, almost to a fault. All right, He just trying to help everyone, and this other rich old guy wants to all he cares about is money, and he's greedy.
Right.
This guy wants to help. He's about the people, and so long story short, he's doing all this stuff. He loses everything somehow, and then at the end, the town comes back and helps the guy, and they all collaborate.
Wow.
It's just like a teary kind of ending because the man's done so much good, and it came back, and that's exactly what I think happens.
And you just reminded me of another movie. It's kind of sad, but it's good. As Pay It Forward. You ever seen that movie?
I don't know if I've seen that.
It's where a young boy he loves to help other people. He loves to pay it forward and help other people. And he ends up. Well, I don't want to give away the movie. Just look it up. I'm telling you, it's a great movie.
Look it up.
It's a great movie.
I'll look it up.
And yeah, you'll see what I mean. So Cynthia says, what does she say? She says, this is interesting to hear how others are thinking. Can you review my profile and feedback? Yeah, sure, we'll do that. We'll look at Cynthia's profile. She says, goodness is a boomerang, and yep, I agree. It's a boomerang. Yeah, just like that's kind of what you similar to what you had mentioned.
Yeah,
I do feel like it does come back, and so let's do that. Let's do it with somebody today. Let's do something good for somebody today. Everybody who's watching, we're gonna do something good, and we can all look at Cynthia's profile and give her some feedback. We'll message you, Cynthia. I'm gonna look at your profile after this, and I'll message you on it. And
Same.
Yeah, feel free and connect. If we're not connected, feel free and connect with us as well.
Yeah, send us a message and let us know. We'll take a look.
Absolutely. Well, listen, it's been awesome. We're already at the top of the hour. I really appreciate you coming on today. It's been great, my man. We got lots of great clips off this too.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, I give you one last applause here for my man Alex. Great job today. The audience loves you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching today. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, we're gonna stop the live here in just a second. Gotta get a little bit of a delay. It's not too much though. And by the way, those who are watching, if you're watching now, if you're watching the replay, go ahead and put in what resonated with you today. What was your favorite point from today's session today? I'd love to hear that, get that feedback. And Alex is tagged in, so he'll be able to see it too.
Good deal.
Are we safe, Jonathan? Sarah says she enjoyed the convo.
Yeah, it's just fun.
I think we're probably, usually this is about, but there's not too much of a delay anymore. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit end stream here. Thank you, Ron. Ron says, great job, you two.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna hit end.